The first time you meet a woman or a significant other, that first honeymoon phase, that first weekend y'all hook up, that first time y'all are together, the endorphin and dopamine spike that goes to your brain at that point in time will never be higher in any point in that relationship there forward. So, I mean, like, why subjugate yourself to shit that you know is never going to be what it was? I mean, is that...
I have a theory. I think if you choose it, if you acknowledge that and you go, okay, but if I sacrifice that, what can I have in return?
It's love.
Dude, like you want, like you and Danny or my brother and his wife, like the thing they have isn't what you're describing at all, but it's better in a different way.
Sure.
And I don't have that. Dude, trust and like relying on somebody without even having to fucking communicate. I want that so badly, dude.
But so here's the thing. Like dopamine rushes, that's not what a relationship's built on. Like I get it. Like, but no, I know. That's the
I've been looking at this wrong the whole time.
All of us do, man. And all of us do. It's something else happens when you meet that person. But now you got to be ready to see it. I wouldn't have seen my wife when I was younger. I wouldn't have noticed her, bro.
Because she wasn't born.
Well, that's true too. But
Clip that.
There is a. Do a little housekeeping before we start with Uncle Lazer and Nick Callas, two comics. We had a great conversation. I will be. You can go to bryancallen.com for my road schedule. But if you are in Tacoma this coming weekend for New Year's, if you're in Spokane, I am there at the Tacoma Comedy Club, December 31st, January 1st, and then January 2nd and 3rd, I'm at the Spokane Comedy Club. So come and get some. It's going to be a blast. And then I'm in Appleton, Wisconsin the weekend after that. I can't believe it. What is it, January 9th and 10th? Appleton, Wisconsin. And then I'm at the San Jose Improv. That should be a lot of fun. So we'll see you soon, kids. Yeah, I always tell the story. The first time I ever saw coke shaved off a brick
was in Canada?
Was in Edmonton. Yeah.
What were you doing?
I wasn't doing the blow.
But what were you doing that
I got invited to a party by a bunch of giant Serbs who I found out later went to jail for 20 years for major drug trafficking. I got sort of kidnapped as the guy from The Hangover. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird.
Because you're the kind of guy that will say yes to that. They're like, oh, like, come on.
I would do like a TV show like How I Met Your Mother, not knowing it was really popular.
Yeah.
So I would do a bunch of episodes, and then I'd be in Canada, and people were like, what the fuck, you know? And so what happens is my quote unquote fame or whatever I had, you know, there wasn't a lot, but there was an accumulation of it. Like it would come in waves where you did The Hangover, and then you did How I Met Your Mother, and then those two things at the moment were big. Yeah. So they would be like, that's the guy from. It wasn't that they knew my name. They'd just be like, that's the guy. Yeah. It wasn't until the podcast that they actually started knowing your name.
And they just invite you to places based off of that. You find yourself in a situation where you look up and you're like, I'm in Edmonton with a block of cocaine right here in front of me. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk?
And I may or may not have done some of it. You know what I'm saying?
We'll see. You know.
Well, you said may or may not, so I don't know what you're saying.
Well, the problem with cocaine when you're in your 40s is your heart can stop. So you gotta, not that would
stop.
That
thing at 40?
Or when you're younger than that too.
You'll be all right, dude. Just don't mix it with Viagra, and you're all right.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Like when you're on the road, you spend so much time alone. So you're alone all day writing, or you're eating, or you're just doing you're like a stranger in a strange land.
Yeah.
Then you get on stage and you get all the attention, and then you're not going to go back to your hotel room because that's lonely.
It's gay.
Yeah.
It's gay.
It's very gay.
It's gay.
It's gay, dude. So you got to go back. You're gonna hang out, and
totally
nothing good happens
with kind of anyone. I get it. With kind of anyone who's like, oh, that was awesome. What are you doing now? You're like, I mean, probably gonna be sad until morning, or hang out with you weird guys.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time going out after and like ending up in some of the weirdest shit in the world in North Fork, Nebraska. Right. I'm at this woman's baby shower the next day that I agreed to the night before at the bar after the show.
You're in a good mood.
Well, it's because, like, dude, you never know what you're going to walk into. Every thing as a network opportunity. You never know who you're going to meet. If you say no, then what? You can't make memories while you're sleeping and jerking off in the fucking Motel 6.
So true, right?
That's very true.
And I know, just looking at you,
Yeah.
and I know you a little bit now, that you get involved,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, everywhere. Because, I mean, like, dude, I was on a drilling rig for 10 years, wasting my whole 20s.
You were?
Yeah, I was on, before I was in comedy, I was a directional driller for ConocoPhillips. So I worked out in New Mexico and West Texas for 10 years. Like,
What?
2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So I spent a lot of time. It's basically where dreams go to die out there in New Mexico. It's a shithole. So now when I get up to, you mean I got to go around the world or the United States and Canada telling people jokes, and I get to hang out with them in their local bars and fucking fuck strange pussy? I'm going to do that all the time. All the time.
Well, it's as I said to David off one time when we were young men. We had a night, and I said, it's such a good time, and he goes, well, it's the best time. It's the best time. You mean being up on stage, doing what you love, getting paid to make people laugh, and then the party keeps on going?
Yeah. And you're the center of attention.
And the alternative is you just are alone, which is the second best, if not best thing. I love being alone.
It's the best. Because
Being
during
alone
the
all day and then being celebrated and then having the option to continue being celebrated or go to sleep is the best life.
Well, and plus we get to write during the day and surprise yourself. You come up with new shit, right?
Well,
do you like that?
So let me ask you this too on that forefront. So like, yes, I do. I'll do that on my. But like going out in the world, like in doing those adventures, some would say. Like the other day in North Fork, a woman brought breast milk into the meet and greet and shared a Yeti cup of breast milk with me. It'd be impolite not to drink it. Well, I can turn that into a joke later. You see what I'm saying? If I'm sitting there sleeping at nighttime, I ain't seeing, all the real shit that's going on. And another thing I like to do is when I'm immersed in people, not that I'll like do the jokes that I do on stage, but I'll say verbiage from jokes like tags and see if that works in real world settings. Because those at the end of the day are people that are going to see your comedy show.
Yes. Sure.
So that's kind of my open mic, is that open world experience like that. Don't get up there and tell them a joke, but use verbiage in the way that you would speak it on stage and see if that verbiage elicits a response.
That's interesting.
That's the way I do my kind of
that's
open show.
Yeah, because there's something honest about that.
It's pure.
Yeah, you're not trying to manipulate them. You're kind of just having a human connection.
You're in the garage with your homies being funny.
You're telling
again.
a story. In
Exactly.
A way,
You
right?
also, like, I sometimes don't know how I feel about something unless I'm talking about it. Like, if I sit down and write, I can kind of excavate and figure it out, but then it becomes very intellectualized, and I'm like, I don't know if this is how I would even present this if I was encountered with the topic. Sometimes I'll just be talking to someone, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm actually passionate about it, and then that's where, like, the bit comes from. But if I sit, I'll just get flowery with my language. I'm like, this isn't going to translate.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about editing that like it kind of like you whittle it down to that diamond.
Yeah, you cut it around the gym. Yeah.
I'm fucking verby. Like I start talking too much. Like on my last special, like I had to edit it down. I'm like, what am I? There's so much shit around these jokes. Like get to the point. And then 3 months after I shoot the special, it's where I want it to be.
Yeah. But that's going to be everything. Yeah, every time I look back at an old joke, I'm like, I do that way better. You know what I'm saying? But it's
Way
like,
better.
but at the time and the place, you needed that out.
Right.
You're
But
going to.
wait, so you worked on an oil field?
Yeah, I worked on an oil rig, a land rig, since I was like 19, 20.
Damn.
And then.
What made you do that? What was your childhood like?
I went to college, but I just was like, I went to a community college for like a semester, and I was doing like computer stuff, computer programming, and I was working in this shop, just sweeping floors, doing bitch work, and they saw I was pretty good with computers. They're like, "Oh, you want to go out to the field and run our surveying tool for the drilling rig?" And I was like, "I want to go back to school." And they're like, "You make $140K your first year," and I'm like, "Fuck school, yeah, let's go do that."
Yeah.
And you did.
I had to borrow my dad's truck to drive to Fort Worth for my first on-site training, and then I had to go to North Dakota and Ohio, and then ended up back in South Texas and West Texas.
And that's one of those jobs where you work hard for 2 weeks and then shake it up.
Well, at first, it wasn't a set schedule. It was like you'd work, and they want to break you when you first get out there. So I'd work like 70, 90 days straight and come home for like 2 weeks and then go back out and do that. That was for like the course of like 2 or 3 years. And then at the tail end of my career, I started getting to the point where I was like running a crew of people. So I could like make, all right, hey, I'm only doing 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You know what I'm saying? But at the beginning, it was, but you make all kind of money and you can't spend it while you're out there.
Are you a disciplined person? You are, aren't you?
I mean, I wouldn't call it military discipline, but yeah, I'm organized.
You're organized.
I'm organized.
Yeah.
I try to be, as best I can.
Yeah.
This is a little different, like the whole comedy stuff, it's because, like, I've always been, boy can party, I can party, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, you got that thing in you.
I got that DJing itch.
Which I really, before you go on, I very much appreciate about you. You see, I believe that comics worth their salt are generally misfits. Rogan and I talk about this. You can't. I just am always wary of the people. Some people I came up with who became famous or whatever it was, or really successful. It could be in any industry. They were super disciplined and precious about their own cubic space. But there's got to be a strain of self-destructive. There's got to be a thing for a comic where I might, there's a tenuous relationship with success. Like too much success makes me nervous. I always feel like I need to fuck things up a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yes and no. It keeps you human, right? And it keeps you that's where you're from. You're from that salt of the earth type shit. That DJ blood. That's in my blood. My mom's an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just. But you just kind of.
Why do I like that about you? Like, why do I feel more comfortable around someone like you?
Because
it's
trauma.
It's real.
It's real.
Yeah, trauma recognizes trauma, and you go, okay, I'm comfortable.
Trauma bonding.
Straight up, dude. A lot of my closest friends are guys that, like, within an hour, I was like, I just trust this guy implicitly. Like, we just kind of have the same perspective.
Cut from the
things.
same cloth, so to speak.
Yeah.
But like with the OFA stuff, 2 weeks on, I couldn't do drugs out there. I couldn't, there's nothing to do so except work out and follow a diet regimen correctly. I was in the best shape of my life. I was on test.
So you can't drink and do drugs?
No, because you can, okay, but I was on a rig that was like the closest town was 2 hours one way from the rig. So you get off a 12-hour day and it'd take 4 hours to go do anything. And like you can't have beer and shit on location because they have security detail that pulls up with dogs and searches shit. You can lose your job and ain't no drunk getting drunk gonna cost me no fucking. Because when I quit my job to do comedy, I was making $500,000 a year. And I gotta tell my daddy, hey, I'm gonna quit this job and go be a comic. And he goes,
were you good with the money? Like, did you pile it away?
I don't have sleeves on, bud. You think I was good with money? Not a fucking chance.
I wanted to be polite, but I had a strong feeling.
I did my tax the other day, and I was looking back at all my other tax returns that I'd done for the years on. And 12 years in the oil field, I made like 1.9 million in that kind of span of things. Like, as I fucking got up, I started making real big money. But the beginning, but I was like, where is this money at? I was like, where?
Well, I have a theory on that. Like, I feel like you subconsciously knew that was death. Like, you can't just make money and be in an oil field for the rest of your life. You can't. Especially when you have this inkling that maybe you could do the impossible.
And, goddamn, bro, I'm great. So, my grandma, when she was dying, she told me this, and I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now. She said, look, baby, I've been rich, I've been poor. The only thing in life that matters is your happiness. All money does is buy the change of misery. You got to go chase what it is that wants to chase you. And, yeah, I mean, I'd be comfortable, but I'd be miserable. You know what I'm saying? Married to some woman that drive kids I hate. Taking photos on the beach in white and khaki pants. I don't want to do that shit.
I'd rather about Bryan. Like, don't talk about him like that when he's right in front of you.
Dude, come on, I'm just older, man.
No, it's okay.
All right, I already ran it hard as it gets, and now I'm just into that stuff.
But let me
ask
you this on the side of it though, because like in the old, like I didn't smoke weed for like 9 years because it was the only, it'd stay in your system long, and you would get random drug tests. So I could do powder because it's out of your system quick, But like. I have the 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So the 2 weeks I'm on, I'm dialed, focused. The 2 weeks off, I'm partying like a motherfucking rock star. But now with the comedy shit, this all feels like a party. And I'm having a very hard time differentiating between, hey, I plan to do edits so I'll stay out of the bars and not do shit to stay away from it. That's when you're talking about that discipline aspect. I'm still learning that.
I don't believe in discipline really. Well, I believe in inspiration. So discipline you can hold on to for a little bit, but fuck off when the shit's flowing, it's like, oh man, this is too, that she's, you can pull too. I've seen some beautiful women in your corner there. And so you've got this creature, this vision over here, and you just did something, people are loving on you, and you got some I'm sorry, but you're only one man. You understand? Like when a levee is being smashed against constantly, it's gonna crack eventually. But what I believe in is like the tapping back into what got you into the shit in the first place. I actually believe that if you are a comic, like you are, or like you are, like in your heart of hearts, you could do something great. Like that you could surprise the shit out of yourself and the world, like whether you do it or not. But you have to get back to the idea that let's see if I can do something so original that people call it genius. Let's see if I can do something so original that it shocks even me. That, in a way, is the only reason to be doing what we're doing. Yeah, you're making people laugh and shit. Okay, I get it. But like, the part of the problem with order, like you were talking about khaki pants and everything all good, is that it leaves no room for chaos.
Yep.
And controlled chaos, man, is the danger zone. It's like that zone where you're doing stuff and you're like, is this going to work? And then you try it and it does.
And it's better than sex when that fucking
Yeah.
happens.
So don't worry about the discipline and self-restriction. I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying replace the blow and all that distraction. You can do the distraction, but just replace some of it with the excitement of discovery. Like, what do I actually have inside of me? I'm terrified of regret. I'm terrified I'm going to wake up like I'll die and I didn't get everything I wanted out of me. Because I always read about the great like jazz musicians, like John Coltrane was dying of cancer, right? And he was dying of cancer, bro, and he used to work in a steel mill. I believe it was a steel mill because he had to make ends meet. But he had all this music inside of him. And he was like, I'm not going to be able to get all this music out. I'm going to die before I get everything I know I can do out. And so he started composing frantically. He was doing whatever he could, man. Or I think it was Ulysses S. Grant or even Robert E. Lee who was dying of jaw cancer, but he was broke and he had to figure out a way to set his family up. So he was sick, sitting on an outdoor porch writing his memoirs. He had to make them good too. And he had to get them done before he died, right, so his family had something to eat and he could leave this record of who he really was. He didn't want somebody else writing about who he was. It's that kind of shit I think about, man. Like Michelangelo, when he painted the Sistine Chapel, went blind. The paint was kind of going in his eyes. Yeah. He kept forgetting to eat because he just was like, I got to put everything into that shit, the agony and the ecstasy. That shit, when I hear that, I'm like, fuck, bro, I'm a lazy bitch. And that drives me more than the other stuff does.
I think about specifically that example all the time because Da Vinci was a grave digger. He wanted to understand how anatomy worked so well that he used to go dig people's bodies.
Well, that's not completely true. What he would do is he would go to the morgue and he would just go through and feel the bodies because he wanted to make, he and Michelangelo wanted to make marble that looked like, they called it flesh. They call it carne, I speak Italian. Carne.
No, you don't.
I like that. But to your point with that doing that, so like this is going to be kind of gay and sappy, but it was a point where I wrote it down in my notebook, like, okay, we're doing the right thing. We made the right choice. Because, dude, I quit comedy. I quit my oil field job. I don't know how to do shit. I don't know how to do comedy. I just like, oh, yeah, this could be something, but you don't. Just because you have potential and shit, if you don't fulfill your potential and work hard at it, you'll just fall flat on your fucking ass. And, I was in New Mexico in Albuquerque the other night, and it was a sold-out show. It was on a Sunday, a school night, right? And at the meet and greet, this woman came up to me, her and her baby brother. He had like an X on his hand. I guess he couldn't drink. Yeah, minor, And she told me she drove 5 hours to see my show. And I was like, 5 hours to see me? And she said, yeah. I was like, are you staying the night here? Or are you driving back? She said, I got to take my kids to school in the morning. So I said, so you drove 10 hours essentially to see me? And she said, yeah. I said, well, why? And she said, because when my daddy was in the hospital these past couple months dying, we'd watch your videos and we'd laugh. And it's the last memory I have of him smiling together. And I go, ma'am, I said, right there. I said, right there. I said, that's better than money. I said, what you just told me right there means to me that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that kind of shit, that's when you just said earlier about, that brilliant shit inside of you. It's shit like that makes me realize, okay, we got to hammer down even harder. Bro, you know what I'm saying?
Bro,
that feel-good shit is what I like.
So do you think
so many people say that to me? I had a guy who was blind, and I tell the story on stage. I make a joke out of it, but he said he was in Arizona. He goes, you're the reason I'm here, man. I said, thanks, bro. He goes, no, you're the reason I'm still here, because when I lost my sight, I was going to check out. But your comedy kept me going.
Fuck yeah, man.
So I want to come.
There's no
thank
better
you.
feeling than that, man.
Well,
You can't
it's a
buy
responsibility.
that. Yeah. You're doing your due diligence to make somebody's day a tad bit better by some trauma shit that you're telling that happened to you. Because at the end of the day, we're all funny, but what's relatable? What makes people go, ah?
It's also
Yeah,
very
that's right.
cool how you have an internal compass for that, because when you're writing, you're coming up with stuff, or you're riffing or whatever, you're not aiming for what you think they'll like. You're aiming for what you really like, and that just also happens to be the thing that
It
gets
resonates.
people to say
It resonates,
that.
yeah.
It's weird, too, because comedy, like, the one thing that's not going to help your comedy is fame, money, and attention. Not more of it.
But it comes with it.
It does come with it. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it might be a distraction. It might soften your edge. That's the irony. Like, you can make all this money and get really successful, and it might be the worst thing you could do to your kids.
Yeah. Because then they grow up little snot-nosed. Yeah.
Soft little bitches.
Yeah. Oh, God. Drinking Fiji water and coconut water on a podcast. That's terrible, by the way.
It's terrible.
God damn
I
it.
can never get through one of those.
I literally taken 2 sips and I'm like, ooh.
I don't know why. It always seems like a good idea, and then I'm like, meh.
Well, I think it's like things that don't feel good to do or taste bad are easier to convince you are healthy.
Yeah.
Like, people buy that because they go, this is good for me because it
Yeah.
tastes like shit.
Shit. Yeah, that makes
Maybe,
sense.
yeah. This podcast is brought to you by MyBookie. If you're waiting for Sunday to bet, you're missing out on the fun, because you can bet college football, you can bet on anything. MyBookie has got you covered when it comes to sports, comes to events, okay? And I'll tell you something else. Let's just take college football, for example. They got you covered on game lines, player props, more, whatever you want, okay? It's all under one roof as well. And by the way, they have a casino, okay? And you can bet on those weekly blackjack pools. MyBookie. All right? And I'll tell you something else. If you haven't signed up yet, use code Callen. That's my last name. And any bet you choose up to $500, all right, is fully covered. So make your play. If it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using the bet back bonus token. All right? So that's what goes on. MyBookie is where bettors win together. So sign up, mybookie.com. Use promo code Callen for that buyback token. All right. Well, you got a lot of tats, brother.
Yeah.
What's the thinking behind the tats? You just get,
This is the arm of luck.
okay.
Right? Born to lose, gamblers for fools, but even fools get lucky. 7 deuce into 2 aces.
Damn.
And then 7s with the Black Widow. Anything you do with luck can lead to tragedy as well, is kind of the idea. And then that's Doc Holliday from Tombstone, one of the luckiest, best gamblers of all time. You're a daisy if you do.
So
Yeah.
you did some gambling.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I got it. And then Lilith, Lady Luck.
What's your game of choice?
Honestly, Baccarat. Yeah, once I understood and started learning how to play it, it's the only game in the house that doesn't have a statistical edge. It's a coin flip.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're you love the juice.
Yeah, I got this itch. I mean, I've calmed down a lot because now I have to mitigate and manage my money a lot more. But when I was in the oil field, I'm getting $25,000, $30,000 every 2 weeks. I'm like, oh.
What's the most you lost? What's the most you won?
I think I lost $18,000 in a night, and I think I've won. I hit $50,000 on a Let It Ride game. I hit a straight flush on a table game in Lake Charles, Louisiana, at like 4 a.m. I'm hollering, screaming. It took them like 2 hours to pay me out. They had to view all the cameras and all the shit, and I'm going ape shit. You know, like when black people like do real loud eccentric shit.
No.
When they win a lot of money and stuff, I was him. I was doing
Unlike The Price
cartwheels.
is Right?
Yeah, whoa, whoa, like shit like that. Yeah. I was going
$50,000.
$50K. Yeah, so that was pretty dope.
What did you do with it?
Well, I was down $18,000 up until that point, so
Okay.
kind of a little turn. It happened all in the same. So you talk about a peak and a valley,
Yeah.
like boom, like that, dude. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, you're supposed to be a comedian.
Yeah,
Very
yeah. I mean,
clearly.
I'm just like, yeah. So that was cool, but I mean, I spent more on.
Was there ever a movie you saw that changed the course of your life?
Probably you and Hangover, to be honest. No, I'm kidding. Hey, buddy.
That's what I like to hear, and I knew that.
Like, you mean
By
what?
the way, I'm sorry, everybody. If it looks like I have more hair, I do, but I didn't
Yeah.
get a hair transplant. It's just that I'm taking Propecia again. So if it looks thicker, and if my
It does.
testosterone's a little higher, if it seems like there's a little more of a forward tilt, it's because I'm taking Propecia twice a week, not every day. And that soaks up all the DHT, but it actually frees up your free testosterone. Yeah. So I apologize. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was just a quick little announcement.
Like a little plug. I like
Yeah,
that.
just a little
A starch professional, some would call him.
Yeah, it's a starch professional.
I love
A
it.
starch
Starch professional, dude.
Fucking like that, dude.
Please do another unpaid ad read in the middle of a actually
I'm
interesting
just talking
guy's
about my
story.
hair. Go on with your story.
Well, so you're saying a movie that changed the
Yeah.
trajectory as far as like a comedy sense?
Yeah, I
Or
don't
just
know.
in life?
Yeah, in life, like I love those turning points. Like, what was it that got you into comedy? When did you decide you want to do comedy? Like,
I dated this witch.
You did?
You're such a fully formed guy.
What do you mean?
You're just such a like at what age were you just like I'm Lazer? Like you know what I mean? Like is there like a 13?
No, so I was 19, and I thought that's right when the Dodgeball movie came out.
Great.
And I was taking sociology, and my professor was like, the people that get remembered throughout history have strong one-syllable names, like Hitler, and which that's not the greatest analogy.
Buddha.
But you know what I'm saying. And so I go, fuck it, I'm Lazer. Because I went to the community college, and all the homies went to the University of Texas and to Texas State. But they're all pledging, and I don't even go to school, but I'm pledging. I pledged. I went to all the rush parties and pledged, and I wasn't even at the school. I was Lazer, and all the fraternities wanted me to join the fraternity. And on the day of the bids, I wasn't even there because I didn't even go to fucking school. Right. But I was Lazer, and I thought that was cool when I was 19. But when you're 30, it's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? And I was fucking this single mom, and I don't think she was quite done with the baby daddy. At least she wouldn't tell me away, because every time I come over, she'd tell her kids, "Hey, this is just your Uncle Lazer," and that's where that came from. And then another fun fact. I'd fuck her every second Wednesday when I got off of work. I got off work on Tuesday, drive home. Wednesday, I'd stay the night with her in Seguin. And my mama wanted me to go help her move shit out of the attic to go set up for the citywide garage sale back where I'm from. So she's like, I need you to come help me on Wednesday. It's the only day I got to do it. And I was like, okay. So I told that woman I couldn't show up and see her that night. And when I got to my mom's house and I got back to my house the day after, I found out that woman's estranged husband showed up, killed her, the guy she was with, and the 2 kids, and shot himself.
God.
I literally dodged a bullet by helping my mama with chores.
Oh, dude.
Wow. So then when you say like times and spaces and stuff where you're supposed to, that was kind of pivotal for me.
I'm named after my
And you
grandfather.
say you dated a witch.
And so when I was in the oil field, I had
That's a crazy story.
yeah.
Rachel.
Well, this is how I got into comedy though. I had a private Facebook and a Snapchat. I didn't know shit about TikTok. I didn't have an Instagram, nothing. This is like right before COVID. And a boy I played baseball with was like, yo, send me these videos in Snapchat. I'll make you a TikTok. I made this video when I got off of work about when Miley Cyrus said everybody in line for the bathroom, trying to do lines in the bathroom. I was like, I found that because I'm a cokehead. I said, but my mom said I need to watch it. I could lose my life. But, summer's coming. We'll see. And I thought it was stupid. Sent it. Took a shower, went to bed, got up for work. It had 18 million views. I had 50,000 followers. First video I ever posted on TikTok. Jesus. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So everything I post would garner attention. And I started dating this witch. I left the girl that I had a house with, almost married. I was just in love with this woman. And I remember it was my buddy's birthday. We all went out to Latchkey out here on E6. Nether Hour was playing. Okay. And at that time, Kill Tony was at the Vulcan. And they had an after party every Monday night. Well, that was the after party band. I didn't know this, but I played music my whole life. I got a harmonica in my pocket. I've been playing music since I was 15.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm watching these boys, and I know a difference between a weekend warrior playing covers and musicians. And I'm like, damn, these dudes are my age, and these dudes they fuck on the first day. And the witch I'm dating, she goes, yeah, I used to fuck the lead singer, and I used to date the guitar player. And I was like, well, I hope they get in a car accident, honestly, But me and her split a week later, and they opened up for another buddy of my band. Well, I hit it off with the lead singer, and we would just bullshit on fucking Instagram and TikTok with memes and shit. He's like, yo, you should come do this Kill Tony thing. Let me introduce you to Hinchcliffe. And the rest is history. The first time I did stand-up was the first time I was on Kill Tony.
Get the fuck out.
And then I just get thrust into this. Because instead of bombing and eating dicks in front of 12 comics at a coffee shop, I'm getting invited to a secret show. They want me to do 10 minutes. I don't even know how to do a minute. Yeah. I'm firing from the hip. So you learn real quick hey man, you can't just fire from the hip. You're gonna run out of bullets.
That's kind of
got it
better
right.
because you didn't.
Honestly,
You got it right. You got it
honestly,
right.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Had it been the other way around and been traditional, I had to
Yeah.
do mic because I've done mic since.
You wouldn't have done it.
And fuck no, I got discouraged because even if you say something, it doesn't elicit the response that it deserves.
Right.
And you have to differentiate between that. And I'm like, oh no,
Well,
like
you also would have learned how to do stand up like new stand ups.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is bad.
But you know, like, it's so interesting. We don't know why we do things, but there was something in you that had you going to that after party. There was something in you. You know?
I call it like the butterfly effect with that Ashton Kutcher movie, the one flap of a butterfly. Because look, what if COVID never happens? Rogan and them don't move down to fucking Austin.
Yep.
Kill Tony don't come with Rogan and go there. I don't meet Bobby and them, Nether Hour, and I don't. It baffles me sometimes to think about the slight misturn to fork something else in the road. Where would I be? Because I never dreamed of doing stand up. I watched Whose Lines anyways. I watch more, improv based shit. I never had any desire or
It
dream
goes
to be
back to
stand up.
telling the truth. Like, it goes back to, like,
I like that.
It does. Like, you if you sit quietly, the truth is the truth. In fact, I would say, like, I was thinking about this too. It's like, why was most of my life, like, if there was one word that would signify most of my life, I felt shame. I was always ashamed of myself in one way or another, right? Maybe that's part of what I'm a comic for. Maybe it's part of being an artistic person and you have a sense of your small place in this giant world. Who the fuck knows? But part of it comes from not being maybe 100% honest with who you are and what you are. Like, there's so much pressure on being something that you don't want to be. Like, you feel like you have to be a certain way when maybe I'm just not that. Maybe sometimes it's better just to kind of like, just, what do you honestly revere? What do you honestly want? Like, I know what you think you want, but what is your body and your actions telling you actually want? You can say you don't want to be a comic, but then you find yourself dating this, crazy gal with these, you're just doing shit. You find yourself there. And it's like, why am I doing this? It makes no fucking sense.
But that also leans back to the fact of just never saying no. You see what I'm saying? Like I was talking about earlier about networking and meeting people. You never know what opportunity is going to be in your way. So why not just greet the day with a positive fucking attitude and a yes rather than, I'm tired. You see, because if I don't go to that thing, and I was massively hungover that day. I remember I almost skipped my buddy's birthday party. And had I done it. So it's like, I think if you put yourself in the opportunity finds you. Yeah, man. Right? But you have to be there.
Yeah.
Right?
And you can get tired too.
Oh, yeah.
When you don't want to do something. You're just like, I got to take a nap.
But dude, I always feel like I always liked, because I grew up across the tracks and I grew up poor. And I was invited to certain things, certain places that I went, and people looked at me a certain type of way. So in my mind, I'm always that 7-year-old kid that's getting left out in the cold, and that's what drives me.
That's that self-esteem.
That's like, yo, if you tell me I can't do something, fuck you. Like, I'm gonna go do it. Like it's weird. I don't know.
That's what I mean. It's like, it's a compensation for our own sense of inadequacy. It's like something happens to you when you're younger. I used to feel that way. Like you something happens to you where you're just like somehow feel too small for your clothes or too big for your clothes. And then you always have that. Like, I had an acting teacher when I was in my 30s, bro. In my 30s, and I was like always confident. I was fairly athletic. I was always the popular kid. It's like I had a great childhood. It's not, but he looked at me and said, "Man, you got a real second banana syndrome going on." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "You know who Jeffrey Tambor is? Emmy Award winner. He was in that TV show Transparent. He played the trans woman. He
was the dad in Arrested Development.
Oh, okay.
He's such a good. He was my acting teacher.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, and like he's brilliant. And he goes, "You got this second banana syndrome going on. You got a real self-esteem issue." He just looked at me. And he goes, "Yeah, you need to lose that." That's all he said. And I was like, "Damn, I do?" Well, of course I did. It's like I was compensating for it. All my actions were behind that. I don't know why we're talking all psychological.
Yeah, well, this got super deep. I like this shit.
Yeah, I don't know why we're doing this. I don't even know why. But I've been thinking a lot about like sort of the motivation behind like I've been going over my life about like kind of like why I do certain things, why I did certain things.
I think about this kind of thing more than ever, especially lately, because sometimes it's every day, but every couple of days I have to remind I'll go, "Hey, you're behaving like you don't think highly of yourself." And
Yeah.
in different ways, I'll go like, oh, I right now don't realize that I think I'm dumb, and so I'm trying to do all these things to feel like I'm not, instead of just pausing and going like, what, relax.
But then the catch is it's okay to feel like you're dumb because we probably are.
Right.
But you gotta believe in yourself, right? Cause my dad say, "Yo, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to."
That's right.
So you gotta but
Well,
don't.
maybe you don't have to believe in yourself. But you have to do what you just said, which is show up.
Just show up.
Just do it.
Yeah, I mean, be there. Yeah,
Like
'cause-
here goes nothing. It's a control fall.
I mean, because you learn best by trial by fire. I mean, My daddy was like, "Hey, don't touch that stove; it's hot." But until I touch it, I'm not gonna know. I just got to go what he's saying. But then when I touch it, I learned a lesson that I can learn no other way. Walt Whitman says the same shit about grabbing a cat by its tail. It's the same shit.
It's like you said, the thing that you think is the moment is there's a moment after that.
Yeah,
There's a
it's
moment
always.
after
It's
Lazer
always.
just quoted Walt Whitman.
Yeah, I just look like a fucking shapes and colors guy. Your boy's actually pretty intelligent.
Come on, baby.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, you're
but
getting
but
me.
I
You're
like
getting
that.
me. I'm getting
but
some
I,
sexual
but I
feelings.
like that shit though, because as soon as somebody puts me into a box or underestimates me per se, then I've already won. If you think a certain type of way about like don't just read the cover of my book. If you don't get to know the pages, I've done beat you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And those are people you want to know are the people that take the time to read your book, because birds of a feather flock together.
It's a secret advantage because when people have an expectation of you and then you surprise them, there's all this like out of nowhere, oh my God, you're all these things.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
And not only, and going back to like those moments and shit that like, I did some Netflix shit, Kevin Hart stuff that's coming out later this year, right?
love
And we're doing this, and there's this lesbian comic lady, short haircut, she looked like Alice from the Brady Bunch, and she had a little suit jacket on, like a powerful Hillary Clinton. And I'm doing my set, and she's with one of the other comics, my buddy, and she's like, "I'm gonna go get some drink. I'm not gonna like him." And he's like, "Yo, just stay and watch him, okay?" And she watched me, and after that, she gets upstage. She's like, "Yo, I've never been more wrong about somebody doing something." I was like, "Yeah, because you don't even know me."
She
man.
judged you.
And it's but
you'd be a redneck and all that.
Exactly. But I mean, if my dad used to tell me, if I can get you to look, then I can get you to listen. You see what I'm saying? Like, I look like this, but then, he still talks about crude, brass shit, but it's clever. You know, it's like, I don't know. I feel like
it's also, it might be clever, but again, it's also true. Like,
Yeah.
Right? Like when you say something on stage and people resonate with it, it's a lot of times they go like this. They get surprised. They go, "Oh, you know, like, oh, that's true. I would never say that."
because you can, when I tell it, you can smell the way it smelt there. Because I didn't write this in my journal. I watched this happen, or I did this. You know what I'm saying? There's a way that you can pronounce things and show things by actually being in that moment. So when I tell you this, I'm telling you the small details, the details you would only know if you were there. Like that brick of cocaine in Edmonton. Yeah. Okay? But when you close your eyes, you can still see that the shavings falling right off into the
I can
bag.
see the guy who had shark eyes and a neck this thick.
And you can't write that shit.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because that was in the moment.
And there was a girl with bruised thighs, this la-di-da in a summer dress, even though it was cold. And she tried to go somewhere, and I remember he grabbed her by the arm and kind of pulled her over for a second to tell her something. And she kind of like a rag doll, and she was kind of she that was his girl, and there was a whole thing with that. And it was just it was this yin and yang, this hyper male criminal with dead eyes, and this la-di-da who made a living on a pole. And she was so coked up. And by the time I left, they were doing Molly and blow. And when I tell you that one of their eyes was rolled back, he was just doing this, I was like, this is not a good scene, man. See ya.
I don't know if I'm hard as a rock after that story. I don't know about
dude,
yourself.
as
Holy
well, you
hamburgers.
should, because there's probably more to the story.
Incredible stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I've been obsessing over this idea of like truth, and like the idea of like even like where Christianity comes from is the notion that you can say that everything is, you know, man-made, but there is a law to nature. And that law of nature and that law that we must follow is a law. Like you can decide to be immoral. You can decide to cheat. You can decide to do things like not engage in fair play, right? But somehow, even when we do that, even when people kill countless numbers of people, in their mind, if you ask them, they'll tell you they're trying to solve a problem. They have their own morality, right? but it never works out. Like, so, like, there's something, like, all of us, no matter what, even if you're an atheist, what you're arguing for is truth. You're going, oh, that's bullshit. I have the truth because I believe in science or whatever it is. But we're all constantly making a judgment on what's bullshit and what's truth. The right way to orient yourself and the wrong way to orient yourself. Whether you're super woke or you're super conservative, it doesn't matter. And so that, to me, like that bleeds into literally everything that you do. And maybe part of like being as good a comic as you can be, when you're not doing that, it feels a little bit like a lie. Like you're just not, you're not moving in that right
direction.
Because we all know when you're fucking up, I should be on a diet, or I should be working out, I should be getting more sleep, or like, you know, Conor McGregor said the most interesting thing in the world. He said, like, every time I'm training, I'm in training camp, every time I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, it's a mini defeat. And if I have enough of those defeats, when I step in that ring, I've already lost, bro. But if I've done everything I said I was going to do, when I get in that ring, I've done all the things I'm supposed to do. And if that dude hasn't, I got you, man. I got you. Mm-hmm. That's an interesting way of looking at life. It's a pain in the ass.
Well, that's what's so interesting about what you were saying about discipline, because it's like
everything I say is interesting.
Well, I wouldn't put it like that, but the thing about discipline, like being a tool for your creativity, as opposed to it being these like bars that confine it, because you have to use discipline to elicit what it is that's good about what you do. Like if you're a kind of guy who has to sit down and write every morning just to have a framework to capture that thing, then you got to do that. But if that gets in the way of you actually feeling what you're talking about, then you kind of can't.
Yeah, I don't really sit and write. I got to move.
I got to pace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm not using my body when I come up with it, I won't use it when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And then it'll suck.
Yeah, I'm that way too. I got to be kinetic. That's why school was such a motherfucker.
Yeah,
Can you focus? I can't focus for a long period of time like that. Like
I got to eat Adderall.
You're the worst.
You do?
I have to eat Adderall, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
You do.
To lock in.
I quit Adderall cold turkey driving down here in a U-Haul for 36 hours, and quit antidepressants cold turkey. And you didn't know this, but when we were staying at your house for 2 weeks, I was hearing sounds that weren't there every time we would like go to bed. From the time I laid down until the time I passed out, I would hear like a like just every few minutes, just something that it was fucking terrifying. And then after 2.5 weeks, it just stopped. It just went away.
What was that?
That might be
It was
cheaper.
just some weird withdrawal side effect.
Damn.
Yeah, it was, and my vision would get
So
blurry.
you were taking what kind of
Escitalopram, which is a Lexapro.
Yeah.
I was taking antidepressant for
I think
anxiety
that did more
and
of the
depression.
stuff than the Adderall. Because I've quit Adderall for a good amount of times, and I didn't get the...
Yeah, it was definitely more than antidepressants.
Yeah, I think it's the
That shit, I did 10 milligrams of Adderall, and I was like, well, this is cocaine. That's not
Yeah,
straight
and I've
up.
been getting
Straight
up to
up.
like 90 milligrams a day.
90?
And I got to stop, too, because like I started noticing... Because I use it to keep me focused, because the way I like to write is... I'm smoked a little bit of weed, right?
Yeah.
And I'm on the tail end of the Adderall. Because the Adderall makes... Or the weed makes me creative. The Adderall makes me stay in the line. You know, like I'm not a pigeon looking at other shit, you know, oh, what's the score of the game? None of that shit, right? But then I notice... Adderall changes. If I take too much of it, it changes my entire, like demeanor and like presence. Like I become more isolated and withdrawn. And I've like done sets on too much on Adderall, like or cocaine, and I've noticed like, it's like you're at a bar, a guy on cocaine's talking a mile a minute, and you got to connect with the audience when they're not on it.
Right,
We're not in
right,
we're not in the
right.
garage talking about God and politics and aliens with a
Right.
stranger.
Yeah.
I'm there, you know. So I learned how to do it, but then I started noticing, like this is just the other night. I was like, I'd done an Adderall, or like later in the evening where I usually do it in the morning, and I got on stage and I'm like, boy, I'm just not in the same vibrant, like kind of.
You're tired, but you're
I'm
hopped up now. Now you're jittery.
And I was just, so then like when you said, so I'm trying to wean myself off and only place it in times when I need to get shit done, not just eating it every day because I'm used to being in that locked in feeling.
Right.
It's not yourself, it's not you, because yeah, it's weird, man. I'm figuring a lot. 2026, I mean,
90 milligrams is...
I once took 270 in a day, and my skin started turning orange when I was playing ping pong at like 4 in the morning. I got so fucked and freaked out. I climbed on top of the roof of the apartment complex and called my mom. Like, I'm like, yo, am I dying? What's wrong with me?
270 milligrams?
Yeah.
bro, your heart's gonna stop with that. That's amphetamine salt.
But the only thing is about the I've done too much coke where I felt like my heart was gonna explode, but never on Adderall. Adderall never increases my heart rate or makes me feel. But that's why I'm scared to wear one of them Apple Watches, so it'll tell me like, hey, you're not getting proper sleep.
Yeah, I don't wear that shit.
Because that's gonna tell me, oh God.
That's the problem. Well, I don't wear that Whoop shit because I feel as though. Like if you tell me I only got 6 hours of restless sleep,
yes,
I'm gonna be tired. 100%. So don't tell me.
Yeah,
that
you're
shit.
putting it out in the universe.
Bro, I got work to do. Shut up.
Yeah, we got shit to do.
This is probably irresponsible, but I'm type 1 diabetic, and there will be times where I just won't test my blood sugar because I don't want to deal with what I know it to be if I feel like I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'll just go, I'll be okay because I think I'm okay, and then I'll go, and then I'll check it later when I have downtime, and I wasn't okay, but I fucking cruised.
Do you think that's especially like, predicating back to COVID and stuff like that? Like, dude, that mind over matter shit, like telling yourself, hey, I'm fine. Like I remember when I got it, I drank a whole bottle of gin with my aunt at Thanksgiving, and I go out to work, and gin hangovers are probably the worst. But I was hungover for 4 days, and I go, what the fuck? I was like, I can't. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get off work. I'm just going to run 10 miles. I went and ran 10 miles, sweated, went to bed next morning, got up, felt fine. Yep. And then they came out, swabbed everybody's mouths, and turns out I had COVID. Yep. But I just was like, I'm okay. 100%. I'm just hungover. Like the mind over matter thing, if you fucking put it in fruition, that manifestation, like, hey, this is what's going to happen. And you stick to that, I don't really get sick.
First of all, that's a fact. Your mind can do things. That's why prayer has been documented to cure diseases. Like people, like we don't. A lot of times it doesn't, but there are cases where people will have a terminal disease. My mother was friends with somebody like that. She had 2 kids, and they said, "You're gonna go," and she was like 30, and she came out and said, "I'm not going." So what do you mean? And she goes, "I'm not going."
Got shit to do.
And she went to a convent and came out, and she's still alive.
Really?
Yeah. So there are cases where people they will themselves to live. They go into remission because they probably trigger something in their brain that sends signals to that tumor to stop growing
and it shuts it down. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
I don't know if it's like situationally just adrenaline. That's like there have been 2 times where I was sick or injured, and like there was one time I bit a hole through my lip. And it was like within the first few weeks of me doing stand-up, and I couldn't talk right. Like things were coming out slurred and stuff. But I had a spot that night. And then from the minute I got on stage to the minute I got off, I was enunciating perfectly. And then when I got off, it was back again. Like just the anxiety of like this could go poorly just powered me through.
That when I got my call back there for the mothership, I remember me and this other girl got there, and they do the guys that were on the mic, and I went and watched the mic just to see what the crowd was like. And they were stiff, like really stiff. And like I watched her go up, and she's a good comic, and I watched her kind of eat one. And I go, and I'm sitting there worried. I'm like, why the fuck am I worried? I said, look, I've been going on the road having to do an hour when I didn't have 5 fucking minutes. If I can't make these people laugh for 5 fucking minutes, then I don't deserve to be here. Lock in, motherfucker. Mm-hmm. And went up there and set it ablaze. And then he's like, hey, you get some time, send your time in, see it, and I was like, you just gotta fucking like, hey, we're in here. Let's make it work. Mm-hmm. If I'm not supposed to be here, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
Just show up.
The mind is incredible.
It's crazy.
Well,
man.
I mean, the Buddhists, like those Buddhist monks. Have you seen those videos of the Himalayas where those Indian Rinpoches, those guys who are like the Indian army was doing maneuvers in the Kush, in the top of this mountain, freezing, like that shit. It's like the wind, and it's miserable, right? But you train at these alpine. And they videotape, they come across this guru in the lotus position, covered in snow, meditating.
No shit.
And they were like, and his skin was bare. And they were like, what in the, like, it was crazy. But what those people are able to do, like the monk in 1963 who set himself on fire and did not emit any screams. He simply died. They heard the air leave his lungs and he fell over. And it was because he was watching himself. He had already separated, and he was the witness. He wasn't his body, his emotions, or his mind. He was the witness outside of those 3 phenomena. This avatar, this electric avatar, this cloud of sensation is something that he practiced watching. He practiced being able to, with detachment, watch, go away. He watched himself go away, this avatar. he, from a different state, observed the burning of his body. And if that's not true, explain to me why he didn't move. And David Halberstam and the other reporter from the New York Times said, homeboy didn't move. He just fell over. He didn't make a sound. He didn't scream. Just
He'd
set
already
himself on
disconnected
fire
from
in a quiet protest to President Giap about how he treats the Buddhist community, because Giap was a staunch Roman Catholic, and he wrote him a compassionate letter. Like what? And that kind of shit. So if they can do that, yeah, you can will yourself, forward. When you've only had 4 hours of sleep, it's like, hey, shut up, pussy.
Hey, get it together.
You know what I mean?
You'll be fine.
Oh, did you only get 4 hours?
Hey, rub some dirt on it, boy.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Are you a little hungry? Because I'm a bitch when I haven't eaten and haven't slept.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't move.
Yeah, sometimes I'll hear a voice in my head that wants to complain or take it easy on myself, and then I think about what my older brother would say if he was in the room if I said that, because he's got 3 kids now, full-time job, like he works like an animal, and then I say it, and then I listen to what he says, and then I go, okay, yeah, I'll just go do it.
Yeah, instead of being... Well, that's why having some historical perspective and knowing how tough... Like those British Air Force pilots and American Air Force guys in World War I and II, dude, almost always if you flew 13 or more missions,
you were die.
Dead.
1 in like 9 came back. I mean, something like that.
Think about that. Think about that shit. Like they were the gunners on the bottom of the plane with the machine gun turrets. A lot of times that shit would jam and they couldn't open it up, or the landing gear wouldn't come up. They couldn't bring it up. So they had to land on that dude. And they'd be talking to him the whole time.
No shit.
Yeah, bro. And then they would just have to land on him, and talking to him the whole time, man. Just trying to keep him like, hey, we love you, and I mean, bro, that was real. That was some real shit. That's a different thing.
I think that's why I like lifting. Aside from aesthetics, obviously, is you have to do a hard thing, and it just feels good to know that you subjected yourself to that.
That exertion.
I said that to Rogan.
That exertion.
I said we were having a conversation. I said, what do you think? Because I've known him 30 years and he really hasn't changed. If anything, he's changed because he's got more peace of mind. Like if anything, he's just become just more zen, calmer, kinder. I said, what do you think it is? You have all this money and success. How have you managed it so well? And he said, I think it's because I do something really hard every day to remind myself of what a bitch I am. It is an interesting way to do it.
I mean, dude, it's hard to... You can definitely develop an ego from, like, fame and stuff like that, but if you subject yourself to, 120 people in a crowd maybe hating you for your own thoughts and opinions, and you work out that day, and you have a disciplined diet, like, that's... You're supposed to live like that. Like, you're supposed to...
You're supposed to live like that because it's more fun, ultimately.
Sure.
I don't believe in... Again, I just don't believe in, like, discipline for its own sake, and I don't think it lasts. I think human beings are always moving away from pain and toward pleasure. And so the way to live a disciplined life or a clean life is to associate pleasure with self-restriction.
Yeah.
Like because it's like what makes me feel better ultimately? Like when do I feel better? When I'm doing the right thing, right? Like when I'm not chasing a sensation, when I'm not like satisfying the sensation I can never satisfy anyway. And I always feel like shit after I do it anyway. Whether it's jerking off to porn or doing blow or whatever it might be, fucking around. You always at the end of it are like, fuck.
Yeah,
dude,
I gotta get it together.
That's to your point exactly.
Look at Lazer. Lazer just went.
Well, quick pro crow, because without that pain, then that joy wouldn't feel so good.
Yeah.
So you resetting and saying, hey, having that balance, or it's because you're not supposed to be doing that, and then not doing it gives you that self-satisfaction, but also doing it and then telling yourself, hey, I need not do that. You need both of that. That's the balance.
Yeah. Sure.
You need the negative and the positive to be in the center. Mm-hmm. That's how you skate on each one line. But too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Too much of a bad thing.
Yeah, but if then you have to isolate what a good thing is to you. Like if you actually think about it again, it's like you are a cloud of sensation. Like you are right now, just like your whole body. You can feel your feet, you can feel your legs. there's pressure, there's heat. It's just in different parts of your body.
Left shoulder goes numb from time to time. I'm sure that's what the Adderall, though. No big deal.
Yeah, or maybe it's an impingement in your neck. Whatever it might be, and then the sun goes down. Now the demons come out. And now it's like,
Need
man,
some
I got
walking
that.
around money.
Oh, I got those girls. When you're young, you got all that. You got your party. There's stuff going on. You might have a couple gigs, but it's gonna be a good time in Austin. You understand? And like, again, all of that, whether it's attention, whether it's a feeling of safety for money, whether it is, it's still just a sensation. Right, it's still just something that you're going to have to. It's a wave. It's a wave. You're riding that wave that feels good. Whether it's joy, it always goes away, and something else replaces it. And you just always find yourself lurching from want to want. And I'm just trying to get out of that whole thing. It's different, but I'm in a different. I'm older. I'm in a different. I've done all that.
Yeah,
shit.
you've lived.
I've lived.
You've lived.
Ran it hard.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot. And we were talking about this in Tampa, like recognizing that I think when I was in my 20s, if I had a feeling, I was like, and now I'm like, okay, it's that, but it's going to go away. And then a different one is going to come, and I might like that one, but don't like that one that much because it's not real either. And just wait. Just
the problem
chill.
is you guys are at an age now, and you're on stage where you get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I get a lot of attention.
You can find trouble.
Handsome young man.
Yeah, handsome young man, right?
And the women that like me, let me tell you something. Not all women like me, but some girls do. And those, they're nuts. They're witches.
Well,
they're
like
working
the women
something out,
and they're going to work it out on you. And I really appreciate those gals. You know what I mean? Cigarettes and bubble gum and bad eyeliner and that thing that hangs from their rearview mirror and their Pontiac Firebird. Sign me the fuck up.
Pussy like a snapping turtle. Just clamps down.
Oh, you come from a good family? Really? Get the fuck out of here.
See ya.
I want the girl with the tattoo on
I
her
want
neck.
the bitch that's gonna put cigarettes out on my back. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like.
That's what you like, because she's gonna hate fuck you.
Yeah, the best lubricant in life is animosity. Am I wrong? Mm-hmm. You ever fight with somebody, make up with them with some hate sex? The best.
It's dysfunction.
Well, because
you're
it's also
working shit out together.
It's fixing it. You go, we want to feel better about that. We hate each other so badly that if we fuck and we both feel better, that addresses this somehow.
Yeah, or you're just in these. You're both dysfunctional, and you're the only way you know how to deal with intimacy, which is a power. Like sex and intimacy becomes a power struggle. It's such a weird thing. And it's like why married couples stop kissing and stop being romantic, why they snap at each other, why they can't give each other any credit. It becomes this weird power dynamic. You sleep more than I do because I have kids. You get in these fucking weird conversations. And I think that there's something about the relationships that are the most sexual is that you the only way you know how to deal is by fighting and then fucking and fighting and fucking, man. It's like you need the extremes.
But the non-extreme ones, like I don't think we're monogamous creatures by nature. I think religion did that to us, right? And you know, I read this thing the other day. It said the first time you meet a woman or a significant other, that first honeymoon phase, that first weekend y'all hook up, that first time y'all together, the endorphin and dopamine spike that goes to your brain at that point in time will never be higher in any point in that relationship thereforward. So I mean, like, why subjugate yourself to shit that you know is never going to be what it was? I mean, is that
I have a theory. I think if you choose it, if you acknowledge that and you go, okay, but if I sacrifice that, what can I have in return?
It's love,
dude. Like you want like. You and Danny or my brother and his wife, like the thing they have isn't what you're describing at all, but it's better in a different way.
Sure.
And I don't have that.
Dude,
trust and like relying on somebody without even having to fucking communicate. I want that so badly, dude.
But so here's the thing. Like dopamine rushes, that's not what a relationship's built on. Like I get it. Like, but no, I know. That's the.
I've been looking at this wrong the whole time.
All of us do, man. And all of us do. It's something else happens when you meet that person. But now you got to be ready to see it. I wouldn't have seen my wife when I was younger. I wouldn't have noticed her, bro.
Because she wasn't born.
Well, that's true too. But
clip that.
There is a timeline here. Yeah, you're right. But I would never have seen it. How many women did I meet, like my wife, where where I didn't even see them, and they wouldn't have fucked with me because they were already realized human beings, and they would have looked at this guy and been like, this arrogant prick Peter Pan guy who walks around looking for what? Attention, validation that he can never, a hole he can never fill, all that shit. I was a nice person. I wasn't a bad person. I never was. I never wanted to hurt anybody's feelings or anything. But I was just. I was about me completely. And so, like, who the fuck? Real people don't want to be around that shit. Yeah. You get older.
You start. Yeah.
And you go, oh wait, this has been a dead end. I've been doing this shit for 50 fucking years, and I'm done with it. I'm tired of myself. And then you finally meet somebody. You're kind of ready. Like my wife. I think the bottom line is I respect her so much. I would never cheat on her, dude. Like, it's so funny. Like, I'll be out there and like, in fact, this weekend, a young, very attractive, actually this weekend, bro, in Tampa, 2 women, like young, beautiful, essentially said, it sucks you're married because you're so my type. And I was like, what? You're like 28 and I'm 75 years old. Like, what? But there's not a shot. And I don't know how to explain it, but it's love, it's respect. I ain't going there.
Right.
I just never going there because I had this other thing going on. Like family is more important. But again, you're talking to an old man, bro.
Right.
You're talking to a guy has been through all the mistakes.
When'd you hit that wall? Cause I'm asking this for myself, not just for the podcast. Like,
Same.
When is there just that moment where you just see that line and saying, you know what, I'm done trying to fill that hole that doesn't want to be filled. Like, I'm going to love somebody and they're going to love me back and I'm going to find what I'm going to see the difference between value and worth. And I'm going to go.
It has nothing to do with the other person, first of all. It has to do with you and understanding and actually realizing that all the things you're told you're supposed to do are true. When you start to realize, like, everything that, say, the great
I feel like I
wisdoms,
just left the oven on, dude.
I'm just telling you, when you really understand that there is a moral code, when you realize that you will never get away, even once, with anything that you're doing, your shortcut. The piper will be paid, and it's all good, and it's understandable, and you'll be able to pay the piper. I'm saying, though, that when you start to realize that there is a right way to behave, there is a righteous path. Everything that you've learned in, say, Christianity is true. I'm not talking about whether Jesus rose from the... I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what he said. I'm talking about the tenets. I'm talking about all those things. When you realize that the message therein of self-restriction, of doing unto others as you'd have them do, all those things, right? That's where the real strength and truth lies. It doesn't mean you get the gold. It doesn't necessarily mean it bears fruit right away, bro. But it does. But it actually does. But it's a different kind of fruit. And it's a form of enlightenment or awakening. But it came to me late in life, after loss, after just fucking up a lot, and that's what we do. Like, that's what we do. We fuck up, especially if you like to be in the mix and you like to, you got to find out for yourself. I've had this conversation with him. He's very talented. And I said, you could be whatever you want, but you can get there much faster if you're willing to actually give up on the distractions, but you won't and you can't. I know you can't. And I'm in no position to tell you otherwise.
It's coming, though. I can feel it.
Yeah, I think
it's coming.
Well, I think the only reason I'm talking to you guys about this is because it resonates in somewhere. Right. I know you are. I know you well enough. You're way smarter than you let on. And you're way smarter than anybody knows. I know you are. And you're also a much more serious person than most people know. And why? Because you have the imagination to know what's out there. I know you know. Like, the great expression, I hear my best self clearing his throat in the other room.
I've never heard that, but that's fucking phenomenal.
That's my expression. That's my
awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, because Kierkegaard said, I think it was Kierkegaard said, I've never talked to God, but I've heard him clearing his throat in the other room. Well, that's actually, I think what he was saying was, because I hear myself, my best version of myself, every time I was
that angel and that devil
going, I'll be over here when you're ready.
Yeah, dude. Damn, that's deep,
Dude, that was one of my, because we've had him and I this conversation like pretty much every week, and and I go for the first like 6 days of the week, I'm like, I'm a good guy, and then on day 7 I'm like, hey, so I'm a bit of a piece of shit. But no, so what you told me that actually has like stayed with me very much is that it's not about I gotta stop doing this thing that I do to girls. It's about, when am I okay and comfortable with the truth of like my own worth and what I actually need? Because they're fine.
But don't worry about that either. Like, the problem is that we do this too. Like, we start to, like, it's a little bit like this. Like, okay, like, you should be thankful. Oh, okay. So you're having a hard day, right? And somebody says to you, dude, you could be in Gaza. Well, dude, you just made me feel worse now, because now I'm a bitch on top of that. It doesn't help. Right?
Yeah.
It's not to do that. Like, it's not to say, when am I going to? It's more a function of getting to what you really want. Like, what do you really want?
It's like self-realization of like, what am I wanting?
What are you gonna regret not having done? What are you gonna regret not having actually embraced? Because you already know what I'm saying is true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You 100% know that everything I'm saying is 100% true. And then what you do is, we all do this. Like, I gotta fucking, I gotta
lock in.
Right.
We all do that, But there's no. This is the age-old struggle. I think it was Paul, the apostle, who said that Satan's like a roaring, pacing lion. He's always like he's always roaring. He's always around you. He's just waiting for you to let your guard down. Yeah. And it's true. Like, no matter who you are, you're always gonna. It never goes away. It's always the itch you can't scratch. Yeah. But there's something really awesome about going through the desert and coming out the other side.
I also think
find the growth. You learn that lesson.
Don't be afraid of chaos, and don't be afraid of loss.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid of the desert, because you will probably, if you're lucky as a man, lose everything that you define yourself as, right? Like you'll see fighters who are the baddest people on the planet, and they start getting older, and everything they were proud of, their ability to throw a right hand, choke you unconscious, it all goes away.
I did Chuck Liddell's podcast the other day, and I'm like,
everybody,
our legends get old and die, and he just,
now what? You're still left with yourself,
Fuck.
Yeah, but the good news.
I didn't know we were gonna be this deep today, guys.
I didn't either.
Holy shit!
But I've just been thinking a lot about it as I get older. So, but I also think it's interesting that it resonates with you, and so it puts all of us on notice. But a lot of people are like, they don't want to hear that shit.
Well, I don't know if this is more particularly male or even just a comedian thing, but like, we have two kinds of conversations. It's this one, or like hyperbolically verbally beating the shit out of each other. There's
that's love, though. Roasting is love.
Yeah.
If I don't fuck with you,
I love.
If I don't fuck with you, then I don't like you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, in public, I tell the ladies or anybody, I'm like, oh, in public, I'm your biggest motherfucking cheerleader. Sure. But if you do something stupid in front around me, like on our own, I'm shitting on you nonstop.
My buddy was in the hospital and he had a rash, and I go, it's probably something fatal. And then I go, also, you bored me with your conversation because all you talked about was being in pain. So I don't like it. It's not to my liking. Be positive. He goes, I'm in pain, bro. I go, I don't give a fuck about your stupid pain.
Figure it out
Because I'm bored. And then I said, I hope you die because I won't have to be bored anymore. And I left him with that.
That's wild. Y'all got a real cool friendship, you and that feller.
my one buddy's was a special forces guy, one of those elite guys, and his friend called him, and his friend was gonna kill himself, and his friend called him and goes, I'm gonna end it, dude. And my friend goes, really? Can I have all your guns? And the guy goes, what? He goes, well, if you're gonna be a pussy and kill yourself, could I have your guns? what are you gonna do with him? And he goes, fuck you, dude. And he goes, fuck you. You're a pussy.
Back around.
Just
Yeah, that's
turn-
how you
Dude,
save
that's
them,
the
though.
best
Got him
thing.
out of it.
There's more love in that than any other thing. We're gonna treat this clinically. Someone will do that for you, but that's not my role in your life.
Yeah.
It's to take the piss out of this.
I love
and, like,
that.
I love it.
It's tough shit.
Also, bro-
tough love teaches grow. You don't like you learn that like
Yeah.
you get calloused over. Like my boy, the guy, he's been in a relationship 8 years. He comes home one day and his chick's gone, packed up all his shit, and he's a man's man, like from the South, like me. We don't talk about feelings, but I can tell he's struggling. Like I can tell he's freaking the fuck out, and he thinks he's got cancer. I'm like, look, faggot, you don't have fucking cancer. I said, you got a hemorrhoid because you're stressed out. You don't have anal cancer. I said, you went to some bullshit ER. They want you to go to a specialist. I said, look, man, you're just stressed. It's nothing that a couple beers, a few ladies can solve. I was like, just let me fucking take you out a little bit, get you back on your fucking feet, get you some pussy, you'll be fine. Now he's walking around the house butt ass naked with a bunch of women. He's your back. Men don't talk about gay shit. All right, it's hey, can I have your guns when you kill yourself? You're not taking a pussy. It's that shit.
That's it.
That's that love you need, man.
Dude, there's more love in that. We were on the phone with Sam from Acting Off, Laponis.
Yeah.
And we're talking about all this scheduling stuff we got to do. And then at the end of the call, Bryan goes, "Hey Sam, and I know you're going through that thing. He had some personal life thing going on, and just so you know, if at any point you need to call me, you want to talk, just let me know. Care about you, whatever." And I still on the phone didn't know what they're talking about, but I said, "Hey Sam, and I just want you to know I don't fucking give a shit. I don't care what it is. Don't call me. If you call me thinking I'm going to be there for you, I won't be. I don't give a shit, dude. I hope it gets worse." Actually.
Yeah, dude. I'll be texting with him this time, and he's texting me. He goes, "Okay, and we'll just go through the whole thing." And he goes, "That's fine, but I don't respect you as a man." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Plus, I don't even read your fucking text." Where are you gonna be, man? What do you got?
I go to Bloomington, like I said.
House of Comedy.
House of Comedy the 2nd through the 5th. Houston the 9th through the 10th, and then all through Toronto, the northeast part of Canada, Buffalo, Toronto for like 16th through the 22nd. And then
Well, for you guys, this weekend I'll be in Tacoma and then Spokane.
oh, you love it there. That's my best run.
Spokane Comedy Club. And
that's the best
Tacoma
run.
Comedy Club is gonna be.
I fucking love it up there.
It's great.
God damn.
And then I got Appleton, Wisconsin. Have you done that?
Oh yeah, you'll
Yep.
love that too. That's
Yep,
the
yep.
get the
gonna be
cheese
fun.
curds.
Oh, I'll get.
They got the cheese curds.
Now that is Wisconsin in January, so that's a bitch.
Yeah, but that's the best time because everybody's don't want to go outside and do shit. They'll come to the show.
That's right.
I've done the yeah.
I've never been in Wisconsin. I'm stoked for that.
Yeah. Coming out, right? And in San Jose, we got San Jose the 24th and 25th. All right, kids.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, sir.
Make sure to get your cat spaded and neutered. Shout out Bob Barker.
There you go, baby.